Before donuts became the unofficial fuel of office meetings, police jokes, late-night cravings, road trips, birthday boxes, airport breakfasts, and that dangerous little voice that says just one more, they were part of a much older human habit. Taking dough, dropping it into hot fat, and discovering that almost anything becomes more lovable when it turns golden, crisp, and sweet. The donut feels completely American today, but fried dough is global. Cultures all over the world have their own versions, from European festival pastries to Middle Eastern syrup-soaked sweets, Latin American churros, Italian zeppole, French beignets, and countless homemade fritters that probably never needed a marketing department because the smell did all the work. What makes the American donut special is not that America invented fried dough. It is that America turned fried dough into a symbol, a business model, a breakfast shortcut, a coffee companion, a workplace ritual, and eventually a national obsession with a hole in the middle. One of the most famous early ancestors of the American donut came through Dutch settlers, who made oily cakes or oliekoeks, small balls of sweet dough fried in fat. The name sounds slightly less glamorous than donut, but the idea was powerful. Cheap ingredients, hot oil, quick pleasure. Early versions did not always have holes, and that caused a practical problem. A thick ball of dough could brown on the outside before cooking fully in the center, which meant the middle could stay heavy, greasy, or raw. This is where the legendary donut hole enters the story. One popular tale credits a New England sailor named Hanson Gregory, who said he created the ring-shaped donut in the 1800s by punching out the center of the dough. Like many food origin stories, it is hard to separate fact from family legend, but the logic makes sense. Remove the center, and the donut cooks more evenly. The hole was not just cute, it was engineering. It turned a messy fried cake into a better product. And America loves when a small design choice becomes a whole identity. By the 19th century, donuts were becoming more familiar in American homes, especially in New England, where fried cakes were practical, filling, and easy to make in batches. But the donut did not become a national icon just because it tasted good. It became a national icon because of war, industry, coffee, and branding. During World War I, Salvation Army volunteers served donuts to American soldiers near the front lines in Europe. These women became known as donut lassies, and the donut became connected to comfort, home, and morale. Imagine being a soldier far from home, surrounded by mud, fear, noise, and exhaustion. Then someone hands you a hot fried ring of dough. That is not just a snack. That is memory in edible form. After the war, soldiers came home with a stronger emotional connection to donuts, and the food carried a patriotic glow. Later, National Donut Day began in 1938 as a Salvation Army fundraiser honoring those wartime volunteers, which is why a modern free donut promotion has roots in something much more serious than a cute social media holiday. Then came the machine age. In the 1920s, Adolf Levitt developed an automatic donut-making machine that could shape and fry donuts in a consistent, theatrical way. This mattered because donuts are not only delicious. They are fun to watch being made. Dough drops into hot oil, floats, flips, browns, and comes out looking like a tiny miracle of repetition. Mechanization made donuts faster, cleaner, more consistent, and easier to sell at scale. The donut became modern. It fit the American century perfectly: industrial, affordable, portable, and sweet. Donut shops grew alongside the rise of coffee culture, commuter culture, and urban work routines. A donut was cheap enough for ordinary people, quick enough for workers, and sweet enough to feel like a reward before the day had even properly started. That is one of the strangest things about donuts. They are basically dessert, but America somehow negotiated with itself and decided they could be breakfast. Put a donut next to coffee, and suddenly it feels responsible enough to eat at 8 a.m. Coffee was the donut's perfect partner because coffee is bitter, hot, adult, and daily, while donuts are sweet, soft, childish, and slightly reckless. Together, they created balance. The coffee said, "I am going to work." The donut said, "But I am still alive inside." Then came the chains that turned donuts into empires. Krispy Kreme began in 1937 when Vernon Rudolph started selling yeast-raised donuts in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Its hot glazed donut became famous because it understood something deep about desire. Timing changes taste. A glazed donut is good. A hot glazed donut fresh off the line is almost unfair. The glaze melts into the warm dough, the outside shines, the texture collapses just enough when you bite it, and for a few seconds you understand why people follow neon signs like religious symbols. Dunkin Donuts, founded in 1950, took a different path and built its identity around coffee, speed, routine, and everyday accessibility. Dunkin helped make the donut less of a special treat and more of a daily stop. It was not just selling donuts, it was selling a morning habit. That habit became part of American working life. Grab coffee, grab a donut, get moving. The donut shop became a public room for people who did not have time to sit down. Over time, donuts also became deeply regional. There are old-school cake donuts, airy yeast donuts, glazed twists, apple fritters, jelly-filled donuts, Boston cream, maple bars, crullers, buttermilk donuts, powdered sugar donuts, cider donuts, and giant novelty donuts that look like they were designed to test human dignity. Cake donuts are denser and crumbly, often made with chemical leaveners. Yeast donuts are lighter, airier, and more bread-like. That difference matters because donut loyalty can be intense. Some people want a soft glazed ring that practically disappears. Others want a sturdy old-fashioned donut with crisp edges and enough structure to survive a coffee dunk. And yes, dunking is part of the story. The donut is one of the few foods whose name gives you an instruction. Dunk it. Put it in coffee. Risk disaster. Pull it out at exactly the right moment before it collapses. That small act makes the donut interactive, and Americans love food that gives them something to do. But donuts also carry a funny contradiction. They are humble and excessive at the same time. A plain glazed donut can be simple, cheap, and perfect. But modern donut culture also loves bacon toppings, cereal toppings, candy bars, cookie crumbs, bright frosting, wild fillings, and donuts so overloaded they become architectural problems. Social media pushed this even further. A donut that looks ridiculous photographs better than a donut that simply tastes good. That changed the business. Some shops became famous for spectacle, while others survived by being quietly excellent. The best donut culture has both. The classic neighborhood shop with a pink box and the wild boutique shop selling flavors that sound like a dare. The pink box itself became part of American donut mythology, especially in California, where Cambodian American donut shop owners helped shape a huge part of the local donut industry. After the Khmer Rouge genocide, many Cambodian refugees came to the United States, and some built new lives through donut shops, often working brutal hours in family-run businesses. In Southern California especially, Cambodian-owned shops became an essential part of everyday food culture. That history is important because the American donut is not just a story of big chains. It is also a story of immigrants, survival, labor, and small business. Behind the cheerful box is often someone waking up in the middle of the night to make dough before the rest of the city wakes up. That is the hidden labor inside a donut. The customer sees glaze. The baker sees timing, heat, rent, flour prices, oil, exhaustion, and hope. Donuts also became attached to one of America's most familiar pop culture images, police officers and donuts. The stereotype has been repeated so often that it feels ancient, but it comes from practical reality. For much of the 20th century, donut shops were among the few places open late at night or very early in the morning. Police working overnight shifts needed coffee, bathrooms, light, and a place to write reports. Donut shops needed customers and liked the added safety of having officers around. Over time, a real convenience turned into a joke, and the joke became a cultural image. But the connection says something bigger. Donut shops are part of the American night. They serve commuters before dawn, students after midnight, nurses after shifts, families on weekends, and people who want comfort without ceremony. Donuts are not fancy. That is part of their power. You do not need a reservation. You do not need a fork. You do not need to pretend. You point through glass, someone puts sweetness in a bag or a box, and your day improves a little. The economics of donuts are also fascinating. They use basic ingredients: flour, sugar, fat, yeast or leavening, eggs or milk depending on the recipe, plus glaze or filling. But the profit comes from transformation. Cheap ingredients become emotional value. A dozen donuts can feed a group, decorate a break room, apologize for being late, celebrate a birthday, or make a meeting slightly less painful. That is why donuts work so well in offices. They are shareable, low pressure, and instantly understandable. Bring a cake, and it feels like an event. Bring donuts, and it feels like generosity without drama. The box opens, people gather, someone cuts a jelly donut in half like that makes it responsible, and suddenly, the room has a little social life. Donuts are group food, but they also feel personal because everyone has a favorite. The chocolate frosted person is not the same as the maple bar person. The plain glazed loyalist is different from the apple fritter maximalist. The powdered donut eater has accepted chaos. The jelly-filled person is living with risk. The old-fashioned donut person probably has strong opinions about coffee. This is how donuts become identity. They are simple enough for everyone, but varied enough to start arguments. The donut also survived health trends because it never tried too hard to pretend it was healthy. Other foods get trapped in moral language. Donuts usually just admit what they are. They are fried dough with sugar on it. That honesty is refreshing. Of course, modern brands have tried baked donuts, vegan donuts, gluten-free donuts, protein donuts, mini donuts, and lighter versions, and some are genuinely good. But the classic donut's appeal comes partly from permission to be unnecessary. Nobody eats a glazed donut because the body requires glaze. People eat donuts because life is short, mornings are hard, and hot sugar has persuasive skills. At the same time, the donut industry reflects larger food system issues: cheap sugar, refined flour, industrial oils, franchise labor, long hours, and the constant pressure to make indulgence affordable. Like all comfort foods, donuts are joyful and complicated. They can be a treat, a business, a stereotype, a survival strategy, and a symbol of American abundance all at once. What makes the donut so powerful is the hole. A donut hole is technically an absence, but it gives the food its identity. That empty center makes the ring easy to cook, easy to hold, easy to recognize, and strangely memorable. It is a food defined by what is missing. That feels almost too poetic for something sold next to gas station coffee, but food history is full of little accidents that become icons. The hamburger has the bun, pizza has the slice, ice cream has the cone, and the donut has the hole. Each design turns food into culture. The donut became America's sweet ring because it solved practical problems while creating emotional ones. You can eat one quickly, but you will probably want another. You can buy a dozen for a group, but secretly hope your favorite is still there. You can call it breakfast, dessert, a snack, a reward, or a mistake, and somehow all of those are true. From Dutch oily cakes to New England kitchens, from wartime comfort to donut machines, from Krispy Kreme's hot glaze to Dunkin's morning routine, from Cambodian American family shops to viral gourmet creations, the donut has never been just fried dough. It is labor, immigration, machinery, coffee, nostalgia, branding, humor, and comfort, all shaped into a circle. And maybe that is why it keeps working. A donut is simple enough to understand in one bite, but rich enough to carry centuries of history. It is sweet, cheap, portable, familiar, and slightly ridiculous. It turns flour and oil into memory. it turns a box into an invitation. And every time someone says they are only going to have half, the donut quietly proves that American history is full of beautiful lies.